On an ordinary day, Pompeii looked safe beneath the bright Italian sky. Its markets were crowded, its homes were warm, and life felt permanent. Yet beneath that calm surface, Mount Vesuvius was quietly building danger. Most people did not recognize the warning signs until it was too late. The disaster began years earlier, not with fire, but with a violent earthquake. In a D62, the quake damaged temples, houses, and public buildings across the city. Walls split, roofs collapsed, and repair work filled the streets for years. People adapted, because earthquakes were unsettling, but not unheard of in Italy. That familiarity may have made the later danger feel less alarming. In the years that followed, smaller tremors kept disturbing the region. Water systems, buildings, and daily routines never fully returned to normal. Still, Pompeii remained a thriving city of trade, leisure, and ambition. Its people had no reason to imagine the mountain was preparing to explode. Ancient Romans did not yet understand volcanoes the way we do today. They saw smoke, quakes, and heat, but not a clear scientific pattern. That gap in knowledge helped turn warning into tragedy. By the summer of AD 79, the region had become restless again. People felt tremors, but many had already lived through worse. The mountain had been silent for so long that silence seemed normal. Then came the day when the sky itself began to change. On August 24th, the mountain finally broke its long quiet. A massive column of ash and gas shot high into the air. It climbed like a dark pine tree across the bright afternoon sky. The eruption was explosive, powerful, and terrifyingly fast. Ash began falling over Pompeii and nearby towns almost immediately. People looked up in confusion as daylight started to disappear. Some thought the danger would pass quickly, like a violent storm. Instead, the ash kept coming, thicker and heavier with each hour. Roofs groaned under the weight, especially on flatter buildings. People swept ash away, but the sky kept refilling it. The eruption sent pumice stones raining down across the city. These stones were light enough to fall fast, but dangerous enough to injure. Streets became difficult to cross as the ground filled with debris. Families gathered possessions and tried to decide whether to flee. Some stayed inside, believing their houses offered the best protection. Others rushed into the streets, searching for safer ground. The city was already losing its normal rhythm and order. As darkness deepened, lamps and torches became the only light. The scene must have felt like night falling in the middle of the day. People could no longer trust the sky, the ground, or each other. By evening, the falling debris had become a life and death obstacle. The eruption was not done, and the worst was still coming. Then the first deadly surges began racing down the volcano. These were fast clouds of superheated ash and gas. They moved far faster than anyone on foot could escape. Once those surges arrived, survival became nearly impossible. Pompeii was now trapped between falling ash and rushing fire clouds. Inside homes, people struggled to breathe in the choking air. Outside, visibility dropped until familiar streets became invisible. The city that had once buzzed with commerce was becoming a tomb. Some residents tried to escape toward the gates and open roads. Others gathered in courtyards, hoping the danger would move elsewhere. But the volcano was sending destruction in every direction. The ash cloud grew so large that it blotted out the sun. Day turned to a strange, unnatural blackness. Ash settled on hair, clothing, furniture, and food. Every surface became a reminder that the eruption was still active. The air itself felt heavy, hot, and impossible to escape. People covered their mouths and moved blindly through the dark. The eruption had become a full-scale human emergency. In the distance, some people may have watched from safer areas. For them, the scene would have looked unreal and overwhelming. Within the city, panic spread faster than any messenger could run. The disaster did not strike one neighborhood at a time. It came as a citywide collapse of safety and certainty. Buildings weakened further as ash piled higher and tremors continued. Stone and plaster began to fail under the pressure. When roofs collapsed, they trapped people inside with no easy exit. The city was turning into a maze of blocked passages and falling debris. Even familiar landmarks became hard to recognize in the ash. People were losing not only their homes, but their sense of direction. The eruption had stripped the city of its normal human rhythm. At the same time, heat and toxic gases made the air deadly. Breathing became harder as the atmosphere itself turned hostile. Some victims likely collapsed where they stood, unable to continue. Others fled toward the countryside, but the danger followed them. The eruption was reshaping the landscape around the city. Roads filled, fields disappeared, and visibility kept shrinking. The world beyond the city was not a refuge anymore. Pompeii had entered its final hours, though few understood it yet. Meanwhile, the eruption continued through the night and into the next day. Ashfall thickened until roofs and courtyards disappeared beneath it. The city was slowly being buried in real time. That burial would eventually preserve the city for centuries. But in the moment, preservation was the last thing anyone thought about. They were trying simply to stay alive until morning. Some managed to escape before the worst surges arrived. Many others were caught before they could reach safety. The death toll remains uncertain, but the loss was immense. Archaeology later revealed how sudden and violent the end was. Bodies, buildings, and objects were sealed beneath volcanic layers. Those layers protected details of daily Roman life from decay. We can still see loaves, furniture, mosaics, and painted walls. These remains make the ancient disaster feel startlingly immediate. They are not abstract history, but interrupted lives. The final warning, in hindsight, had been written in earthquakes and smoke. But warnings only matter when people know how to read them. Pompeii did not have that knowledge, and the volcano knew no mercy. Its final warning came too late for the city below. Today, Pompeii survives as a frozen snapshot of that last day. Visitors walk streets where people once fought for their lives. The silence there feels heavier because the city was once so alive. Every wall and street corner carries the memory of interruption. The eruption did not erase Pompeii completely, but it froze it forever. That is why the city still teaches us so much about disaster. It shows how warning signs can be visible yet still ignored. It also shows how ordinary life can end in a single day. The people of Pompeii were not foolish, only unprepared for the scale. Their tragedy reminds us that nature can move faster than human certainty. When the warning came, the mountain had already decided the outcome. That is the cruel lesson buried beneath Pompeii's ash. A city can seem permanent, right up until the moment it is not. Pompeii's final warning was real, but the eruption was stronger. The city could not outrun what it could not fully understand. So Pompeii became both a graveyard and a time capsule. Its streets still speak, if we know how to listen carefully. They tell of fear, confusion, endurance, and sudden loss. They also tell of a warning that arrived too late to save anyone. That is why the story of Pompeii still feels hauntingly modern. We still live with earthquakes, volcanoes, and the temptation to delay action. Pompeii reminds us that delay can be as dangerous as the threat itself. The mountain gave clues, but the city ran out of time. That is what made Pompeii's final warning so devastating. It was clear enough to notice, but not enough to stop what came next. And that is how a living city became one of history's most famous ruins.